Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm going to review a few of the key points from my written testimony, and obviously look forward to questions later on today. So I've been in fisheries since the 1980s. This was around the time when ESA was just resulting in large-scale efforts to conserve or to save salmon, and I now have a company that specializes in research, monitoring, and conservation of fish with a few offices in California and one in Asia. So I like to think that I have a lot of good on-the-ground practical research experience over the years. I've worked with the native tribes, all of the state agencies from the West Coast, many federal agencies, and now for the last 5 or 6 years, foreign and even communist governments. So I think I understand competing interests, which I think a lot of this is about, regulatory processes, and certainly I'm used to red tape. So as was mentioned, salmon start and end their lives in riffles in the upper river reaches. And over the decades of my career, we've spent tens of millions of dollars restoring these riffles so more fish can spawn, so we could provide or produce more baby salmon. We soon realized that these baby salmon had a perilous journey downstream to the ocean due to water diversion. So we spent 2 decades spending hundreds of millions of dollars screening diversions. My first project in fisheries, my first job in fisheries, was the Glen Cluse Irrigation District, which was a fish screen that cost $50 million to build. Of course, that was the largest one, I believe, in Northern California. Additionally, we've spent tens, and I'm not an economist, but I'd even say maybe 100 to hundreds of millions of dollars on various studies and monitoring. We've got life history monitoring, behavior studies, habitat use, predation, influence of flow on survival. So where are we now? I'd say we've got a couple of decades gone, and we've certainly spent billions of dollars, and I think the spending continues, and I don't think it's going to stop or slow down in the near future. Additionally, we've got a contentious and costly fight for water, and I think we're always going to have that in the state of California as well. Yet native salmon continue to decline, and hatchery fish continue to increase. As was noted, it's estimated that 90 to 95% of the salmon in California are currently hatchery fish. So I think by an objective person, and certainly an economist, would say that this has probably been a pretty dismal failure, considering how much money we've spent and the state of the system we have today. The one thing that I think most Central Valley biologists would agree on today, at least the field biologists, the people that I deal with on a regular basis, is that predation is a huge problem. And the more we look, the more we see, the more we learn about this. NIMS said reducing, this was their 2009 recovery plan for salmonids, reducing abundance of striped bass and other non-native predators must be achieved to, and I quote, prevent extinction or prevent the species from declining irreversibly. Now, this was NIMS 2009 recovery plan for salmonids. So I don't know how I would argue against predation being a problem. California Department of Fish and Game later admitted this. They had to be sued in 2008 or 2009. 2011, they settled out of court, admitted that this was a problem. We still spend billions on research, monitoring, restoration, but this is really also we could feed the predators downstream. These are expensive salmon that we're producing upstream and feeding to downstream fish. Perplexingly, under CVPIA, there's a legal requirement to double the striper population, similar to the anadromous salmon population. Perhaps the only invasive species in the world that has legal protection, and certainly the only one in the world that has a legal requirement to double its population. I didn't look extensively, but I don't know of another situation like that. So it's not often that you have a free, fast, and effective solution to any problem, especially an environmental problem. But I do believe predator control is one such solution, and I think we need to implement what the state of California agreed to in their settlement lawsuit in 2011, but have yet to do so. Simple, straightforward changes to California sport fishing regulations are needed. We either need to liberalize or completely remove harvest limits on striped bass and other non-native fish. This will increase harvest of these fish, decrease predator abundance, and ultimately increase survival of out-migrating salmon and steelhead and other protected fish. So thank you. I look forward to elaborating on my comments further.